Hello, welcome to NBP Hotseat with Ibrahim Ababu. With the COP27 summit taking place in Egypt at the moment, the world attention is on the African continent, which has unfortunately bore the brunt of climate change despite being one of the least contributors to global warming. Africa is hungry for energy and is looking to adopt cleaner sources of energy such as nuclear power. An organization playing a crucial role in the nuclear energy sector in Africa is the African Commission on Nuclear Energy, AFCONE. Today, I'm pleased to be joined by the new Executive Secretary of AFCONE, Mr. Enobot Agboraw, who previously worked for the International Atomic Energy Agency and brings over 30 years of experience in nuclear diplomacy. AFCONE is the leading nuclear organization in Africa, uniquely mandated to oversee and coordinate nuclear activities and cooperation in Africa, with a view to fostering international peace and security and engendering sustainable development in Africa. Mr. Agboraw is also an advisory board member of the Africa Nuclear Business Platform Conference, which will be hosted by the Uganda's Minister of Energy and Mineral Development in Kampala next March. Welcome, Eno, and congratulations for the new appointment. I'm sure AFCONE under your leadership will thrive.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm very happy to contribute through this interview to the development of nuclear energy in Africa.
Thanks to you. First of all, what are some of AFCONE's and your immediate priorities as the new executive secretary?
I think our main priority now is to acquire the human resources that we need to accomplish our mandate. The mandate of AFCONE is very broad. There is nuclear non-proliferation. There is nuclear security, nuclear safety, peaceful uses of nuclear energy, the management of radioactive waste, and also to promote the image of nuclear energy generally in Africa and around the world. So in order to be able to do this, we need staff. We do not have the full complement of staff that we need to do all these sort of areas of work that I've just mentioned, but we are doing our best to recruit African experts and also sort of foreign consultants to sort of fill in gaps that we're still working on. And we're also trying to raise money, the funding that we need to sort of get the human resources and to be able to do the work that we need to do under our mandate. So those are our immediate priorities right now. And we are well on the way to doing this. We are sort of spreading awareness across the continent with senior policymakers, with private industry in Africa, with the general public. So, in the area of awareness building, we are doing well. In the area of building human resources capacity within the organization, we're doing well. And we are also doing well in raising money. So, watch this space. Not long from now, you will see nuclear energy developing, much more deliberately than before, through the work that AFCONE is doing.
That's great to hear. And following on the same answer and to add on to what you just said, what role AFCONE is playing in driving nuclear energy development in sub-Saharan Africa, and how do you support African countries?
AFCONE is working very hard to sort of promote and to advance nuclear energy, not only in sub-Saharan Africa, but throughout Africa. I recently participated at the African Union's Policy Conference of Peace, Security and Development that was held in Tangier in Morocco a few weeks ago. This is a conference that brought African experts, government officials, and other global stakeholders interested in, the areas of peace and development and security. And AFCONE was there to sort of bring the nuclear perspective, to explain how nuclear energy could contribute to development in Africa, how nuclear energy could contribute towards achieving the United Nations 2030 Sustainable Development Goal number 7, how it could contribute to achieving some of the development goals under the African Union's Agenda 2063. One of the things that AFCONE is doing with regard to promoting nuclear energy in Africa is trying to coordinate the efforts among African countries to work together in the deployment of nuclear energy in Africa. I think the time is now, and it is right for African countries to sort of enter the nuclear arena, so to speak, in terms of having nuclear power as a routine source of energy in Africa. Many African countries, more than a dozen, have already taken strides towards including nuclear energy in their electricity mixes. I say the time is right now because everybody has heard about small modular reactors. Among these reactors are those that have features that address non-proliferation concerns that used to be a worry when one spoke about African countries acquiring the traditional types of nuclear reactors, like, say, PWRs or BWRs. There were nuclear security and nuclear safety issues, which in most of the SMR designs that we have reviewed in AFCONE do not pose the same concerns as traditional nuclear power plants. And of course, SMRs are the best type of reactor for countries that do not want to spend a lot of money immediately. You can get one that fits the budget that you have, rather than spending the odd 12 to 15 billion dollars you need to get a light water reactor, traditional type. So, everything is aligned in terms of supporting African countries to move towards acquiring SMRs.
Indeed.
And sort of having nuclear power as part of their energy mixes. And like you said in the introduction, the role of AFCONE is to coordinate these types of activities and efforts in Africa. So we are doing that. We are reaching out to countries that have expressed interest. We are trying to convince them that to get the most benefit out of this, we have to work together. We are reaching out to the African Union in order to make sure that the work that we are doing is aligned with the overall vision and objectives of the African Union for the entire African continent. We are identifying and concluding partnerships with foreign entities that we believe can bring value to nuclear in Africa. So we are doing a lot. There's a lot of work to do. We need all the help we can get. And of course, we thank, the UK Business Platform for inviting us, for us to be able to share part of our vision, to be able to share and to attract interest and support for the work that AFCONE is doing to advance nuclear energy in Africa.
Thanks to you. And I totally agree with everything you said, and especially about SMRs, because in addition to what you said, even in their capacity with the grid, which in African countries, the grid is smaller and SMRs are a perfect fit with them. And also we need to mitigate the problem that I hear a lot from African stakeholders of they have the false assumption that SMRs are being pushed to African because they think that the West think that Africans are not mature enough, but this is not the case. And if it was the case, we would have seen a lot of engagement from SMR country with Africans, which is not the case. So basically, we need to mitigate that issue also.
You're absolutely right, because we are not pushing African countries blindly towards nuclear power. We are encouraging African countries to be part of the milestones approach system of the International Atomic Energy Agency towards acquiring nuclear power. We are also encouraging African countries to be part of another approach called the INPRO methodology, which is doing a self-assessment and looking at sustainability issues and that sort of thing for the introduction of nuclear power. We are working within Africa itself and with external partners to make sure that we cover all the technological and sort of legislative loopholes and gaps. So this is something that we are sort of doing, you could say in a scientific way. We are not doing this emotionally. We are considering everything that needs to be considered to make sure that when we do bring these reactors to Africa, we are bringing the best technology. We have done our due diligence to make sure that non-proliferation requirements are considered, to make sure that nuclear security requirements are considered, nuclear safety requirements are considered. But we need the buy-in of civil society. We need the buy-in of our national governments. We need to convince the international community that we are ready. That is why we're doing so much work to raise awareness about what Africa wants and what Africa is doing to acquire this technology and to deploy it in a responsible way.
Exactly. And my last question is in part about this. So what are the opportunities and challenges facing African countries in their quest for industrialization through nuclear energy?
I think the opportunities first and foremost lie in the nuclear-related multilateral arrangements that African countries are party to. For example, the Non-Proliferation Treaty itself, which is one of the world nuclear pillars. Article 4 gives every country the right to benefit from the peaceful uses of nuclear energy. We just spoke about SMRs. SMR is a technological opportunity in terms of cost, in terms of grid considerations, in terms of being more kind of in line with non-proliferation matters in terms of nuclear security, in terms of nuclear safety, as we said. So, and also what's happening globally with regard to the climate and the environment. These are all opportunities that are supporting nuclear energy. But in terms of the challenges, it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation, because you need energy to be able to sort of industrialize. If you don't have energy, you cannot industrialize. And we have a serious energy problem in Africa. 80% of Africans are currently without electricity. So that is a big challenge that we are hoping to address through deploying sort of environmentally friendly energy sources, nuclear especially, at a cost that is affordable to most African countries. We are encouraging, AFCONE is encouraging a regional approach, because there are many African countries that do not have all the technological infrastructure needed to develop nuclear power, or even some of the scientific skills or sort of regulatory infrastructure in place. But if we follow a regional approach through AFCONE, then we share our expertise, we share our resources, we put our heads together, then all African countries will be able to benefit equally from our efforts to bring this technology to the continent and to use it to introduce the industrialization that we will need to be able to accomplish the other sustainable goals. You need energy first in order to be able to achieve the UN Sustainable Goals and the African Union's objectives under Agenda 2063. And like we are sitting here together, two Africans trying to address this problem, we are inviting all Africans to join us, and international partners who care about Africa to join us in this effort to bring energy and industrialization to improve the socio-economic situation of Africans.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Indeed, and that's exactly what we are aiming for. And we, even in a nuclear business platform, we try to help as much as we could into getting all the Africans and also the international community to help the development of nuclear in Africa. And that's also one of the roles of AFCONE, and AFCONE is a perfect player in the market, and you are at the heart of this vision, and I hope you would be we would be seeing more nuclear advancements in the coming years, and not in 20, 30 years, but also in the near future. In 10, 15 years, we should be able to have some few nuclear power plants in the continent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you once again, Eno, for this inspiring discussion. We are looking forward to seeing more nuclear development in Africa with the help of AFCONE, as I said. For those who are keen to learn more about nuclear energy development in Africa, do attend the African Nuclear Business Platform Conference in Kampala next March. The conference will bring together all key energy government stakeholders in Africa. So stay tuned for next episode of NBP Hotseat. Bye, everyone. Thanks once again, Eno, for this great interview.